This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. My name is Josh Strickland. I am your host today, and today we will be talking about the NFL, some playoff, what the playoffs going to look like, and we're also going to talk about Kawhi Leonard's uncle asking the Lakers for illegal things, and then we will also talk about, we'll have a fun topic about bowl gifts. You know, general bowl gifts. What's the worst ones? What are the best ones? But first, we're going to talk about the absolute war that happened last night. Last night was the Fiesta Bowl, the semifinal games. I'm talking about the Fiesta Bowl specifically. It was the Clemson Tigers, number 3, versus number 2, Ohio State Buckeyes. It ended 29-23, and it was a hell of a game. It was one of the best games I've seen. It's the best game I've seen Clemson play in about 2 years. It ended 29-23. Clemson came off to a slow start. Ohio State came out destroying things. There were plays where Clemson players were getting blown up. There were plays where Clemson looked like they couldn't do anything. So Clemson started off 16-0 deficit. Ohio State was just destroying them. It should have been worse than 16-0, to be honest. So, I have the scoring summary real quick. I'll go down the drive list real quick. So, first drive, 10 plays, 71 yards, only a field goal. Second drive for Ohio State was a J.K. Dobbins 68-yard run, which, was an incredible run. There's nothing you can do to stop that. Then their third scoring drive, 7 plays, 75 yards, but only a field goal. Then fourth drive for Ohio State was 14 plays, 70 yards, but still only a field goal. And that's their first half drives, scoring drives right there. So Ohio State starts off with a 16-0 lead, but then Clemson starts fighting back. There was a momentum shift there, because there was a questionable targeting call called on Ohio State. So I was at a watch party for this game, and there was a lot of jeering because there's a lot of Clemson fatigue going on. So there was a lot of jeering about this targeting call right here. So basically what happened was, he lowered his head, helmet-to-helmet contact was made with the quarterback, and you just can't do that with the quarterback. So, was it a questionable call? Yes. But technically, under the targeting rules, it's the correct call. And I know some people are not happy about that, but it happened. Get over it. There's not much you can do. So that defensive player was kicked out of the game, and it was definitely a turning point for the Clemson Tigers. It was a turning point for the whole game. It was a momentum shift of max proportions, you could say. So basically, after that, that sack happened. It was like a 3rd and 15, and that sack happened to bring Clemson down to a 4th down 16-0. Should be a lot worse than 16-0, but just to mention that. But then after that, Clemson gets a first down because of the penalty. Then Clemson chucks it down the field, gets a pass interference, gets another first down, and then they go on to score their first touchdown. And then on the very next drive, they get the ball back with a minute left in the half. Very next drive, you have 6'5", 220-pound Trevor Lawrence galloping for 70 yards for a touchdown, and possibly the best juke move I've ever seen in my life. And by that I mean he looked like he was about to drop a bunch of plates as a server or something like that, and he somehow stayed on his feet. So the main story is obviously going to be the refs. I feel like the refs are always the main story. There's always going to be someone complaining about ref calls in games, and frankly, at this point, you just got to get over it. To be honest, there were some bad calls going both ways. There's some questionable calls, but I mean, I see how Ohio State can be angry, because you had the J.K. Dobbins touchdown that got called back because he used the ground to catch the ball. Some people say that was a football move. I disagree. He never had full possession of the ball, and then he used the ground to help him. Some people say since it was in the end zone, it shouldn't count, but I mean, you can't do that. So J.K. Dobbins, that catch was called out. Then there was a fumble recovery for a touchdown late in the game for Ohio State that got called back. Justin Ross caught the ball, took about 3 steps, then the ball got knocked out of his hands. In real time, there's no way. In real time, it was an incomplete pass. Of course, if you slow-mo it, put it in slow motion, it's going to look like a fumble, obviously. But in real time, you can't really justify it. He didn't really make any moves. He was just kind of trying to in slow motion, he had full possession. But in real time, it looked like he never had full possession of the ball. He was still kind of struggling to catch it by the time he got knocked out of his hands. So there's controversial calls all up and down this. But the fact of the matter is, Ohio State made it to the red zone about 7 times and scored 0 touchdowns. And you can't do that in a game like this against the defending national champions, against the team that's won 29 in a row. You can't not score in the red zone. Like I mentioned before, their first drive, 10 plays, 71 yards, field goal. They had a 7-play, 75-yard drive, field goal. 14 plays, 70-yard drive, field goal. All those drives could have easily been touchdowns. Those were all in the first half. These were all before Clemson even scored. So this game could have been 28-0. It could have pretty much been out of hand, but they couldn't punch it in, and that's a credit to Clemson's defense. Credit to Clemson's red zone defense. They couldn't punch the ball in. The only touchdowns they had were big plays. And you can't do that against the defending champs. I mean, I was watching the game, and it was 16-0. Everyone on Twitter was just like, oh, this game's a blowout, just like the LSU game. And I'm just sitting there, I was like, I don't think 16's enough. All things considering, Clemson played their worst half of football for the entire year. And that's saying something, because they played a terrible half against North Carolina, and they played a terrible half against Louisville. They played their worst half of football, and they ended up down only 2 points because Ohio State could not punch the ball in. Ohio State couldn't score. And Clemson, when they really needed it, and you could argue that they needed the refs' help, but when they were able to, they punched the ball in when they made it in the red zone. And they also took Chase Young completely out of the game. Chase Young only had 1 tackle or one hit on the quarterback. They took Chase Young completely out of the game. The best defensive player in the country was completely taken out of the game. Now, it was kind of a detriment to the rest of the offense for Clemson, as the rest of Ohio State's defense kind of stepped up. But they took out Chase Young, and that was the game plan. And you can easily watch that was the game plan. They were throwing away from him. They were throwing screens. They were baiting him in and getting him out. They were using the QB run a lot. The last drive, which was a 4-play, 94-yard drive that took a minute with 2 minutes left to go in the game. it took a minute drive to go 4 plays, 94 yards. Trevor Lawrence, and they game planned this the whole time because Trevor Lawrence was doing a QB power throughout the entire game, or a QB run, something like a design run, something like that for the whole game. Then at the end, he does a little fake. Then he does very similar to the Tim Tebow jump pass. Did a little fake run, tossed it to ETN for a touchdown, for a 34-yard touchdown, and that was the game winner right there. So, amazing game. A lot of drama going on in it. I was terrified. And it was a fantastic game. It was definitely a better game than the next game I'm going to talk about, which I will be talking about in the next segment. I will be talking about the other semi-final playoff game and how terrified Clemson should be to play the winner of the LSU the LSU Oklahoma game. So stick with us. We'll be talking about the LSU Oklahoma game in the next segment.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Despite popular belief, there was a second semifinal football game, although it didn't seem like it at the time. So let's get into it. We have number 4 Oklahoma Sooners versus number 1 LSU Tigers with Heisman Trophy winner, a billion other trophy winner, Joe Burrow, Coach of the Year, Ed Orgeron for LSU. Facing Jalen Hurts, who has an amazing story, going from Alabama, playing backup, getting Tua Tagovailoa starting over him. Then you got a fantastic, possibly the best receiver in the draft, CeeDee Lamb for Oklahoma. So, I mean, you're expecting an offensive shootout definitely going into this game. And it kind of started out that way. It started out, Oklahoma scored. LSU scored first, and then Oklahoma scored pretty much immediately after that. And then LSU scores another one. But then after that, it kind of all went downhill as LSU made it 21-7 and then kind of never looked back. So I didn't watch the first part of this game, like the first half of the first quarter or something like that. Like I came in like right after LSU scored their third touchdown, and I was kind of like, okay, 21-7. I mean, that's doable. I mean, you know, Oklahoma, they got an offensive power. I mean, their defense is bleh, but you know, I think that 21-7 is not an issue. Then the second quarter started. Then it was 28-7. Then it was 35-7. Then it was 35-14, and I was like, okay, they got a chance. Then it was 42-14. Then it was 49-14 going into halftime. And then it was just bad. So, LSU, I mean, they have the offensive power, but I didn't think their defense would hold up against Oklahoma. And boy, did they. LSU's defense really impressed me in this game. I guess, yeah, they impressed me more than Oklahoma kind of disappointed me. But, yikes. So the final score was 63-28. Oklahoma kind of scored in the fourth quarter, but it didn't really matter because LSU went right down the field with their backups and scored their last touchdown, make it 63-28. So LSU pretty much as dominant as you can get in a football game. It was the best game I've ever seen a quarterback play, even a receiver. So Joe Burrow, 493 yards, which in my opinion, they should have trotted him out there to get like a 7-yard pass or something and get 500, but that's just me. So 493 yards, 7 touchdowns for Joe Burrow. Well, and as the broadcast mentioned a billion times, that is a college football playoff record. It was almost the record for a single game. He broke the yards record. He broke pretty much every record you can break in the playoff in the first half, pretty much. Then you have Jefferson for LSU. He had 227 yards. He had 4 receiving touchdowns, all 4 in the first half. It was breathtaking, to say the least. I mean, like I said, I missed the competitive part of this game. When I walked in, it was pretty much decided already. Oklahoma only scored 28, and when I walked in, LSU had 21. So it was pretty much already decided by the time I walked in. And can I say I'm surprised? Yes, I'm surprised, because I didn't expect Oklahoma to only score 28. But am I surprised that Oklahoma got treated this way? Not necessarily, because throughout the whole year, Oklahoma's had some scares against Kansas State, against Baylor twice, played Texas close, which Texas was a meh team. So Oklahoma was always kind of struggling throughout the year. They struggled against Oklahoma State. They struggled against Iowa State. Oklahoma's been struggling for the entirety of the year. So is this outcome that shocking? So looking at Oklahoma's last 5 games heading into this game, you got last 6. Let's go last 6, because you got the loss to Kansas State. They lost to Kansas State 48-41, which it should not have been that close. They were down by like 4 touchdowns or something at one point in that game. So that game should not have been close. And then after that, they have a 42-41 game with Iowa State, then a 34-31 game with Baylor, then a 28-24 game with TCU. And then they had another one-score game with Baylor again. And we'll see what Baylor's made out of when they play Georgia. Maybe a motivated Georgia team, but we're not really sure, because in the SEC, motivation's not a big thing apparently. So I'm not shocked that Oklahoma lost. I'm shocked that they only scored 4 touchdowns and then lost by this much. To be fair, they had their 2 best defensive players suspended from the game from a drug test. That doesn't help. They had some injuries at the beginning of the game that also don't help Oklahoma out at all. But they gave up 700 yards of offense, and I don't really remember LSU ever running the ball. They ran it a little bit. LSU had LSU's running back Curry got 90 yards on 16 carries, but most of those probably came at the end of the game. I don't remember LSU running the ball at all, but to each his own. So it was funny. We did get to see Spencer Rattler, good old Spencer Rattler, in the game for a little bit. He didn't really do much. He had 1 catch. He had 1 completion out of 3 attempts for 8 yards. Wasn't much. But the absolute domination cannot be understated here. It's hard to talk about because there's not much to go off of. You can only talk about how great LSU was. But now we will turn to LSU versus Clemson, which terrifies, I'm sure, the upstate of South Carolina, as I mean, it doesn't matter who won against Clemson, Ohio State. Before the playoffs started, I said it doesn't matter who wins Clemson, Ohio State. The winner is going to win the national championship. I think my mind has changed. LSU's changed my mind. They absolutely prepared, executed, and if they play like this on January 13th or whatever, then it doesn't matter who they play. If they play a game like they did today or last night, it doesn't matter who they play. They are going to score if they're going to drop 63 points on any team, then it doesn't matter. Now, there were some blown coverages by Oklahoma that I think nobody on Clemson or Ohio State would do. Oklahoma's defense I didn't think was very disciplined or prepared at all. They looked lost at times. So I think LSU will not put up 63 points against Clemson. They're much more disciplined. It will definitely be kind of a shootout game. It's definitely going to come down to whether LSU's defense can actually stop Clemson's offense, which they can take a lot of notes from Ohio State, as Ohio State slowed down Clemson as much as they could. But, I mean, you got to stop the QB run. As it is apparent, Clemson has made that a huge thing for they've made that a huge point to their offense throughout the past couple games. Then you got to stop that. You got to stop the tall receivers, which T. Higgins was banged up. Justin Ross got banged up in the game against Ohio State. As, like I said, that was a war. There was so many players down at random times. I was sitting there during it. It's like, it doesn't matter who wins this game. They're not going to be able to. Neither team's going to be able to field a team in the national championship. But I mean, they get a couple weeks rest because January 13th. That's pretty far away. So, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. It's going to be a good game. I'll talk about it more in depth when we get closer to the actual game. But right now, it's just generic talking points. But that's fine. So, coming up in our next segment, we're going to be talking about the NFL. It's Week 17. We're going to be talking about some playoff scenarios. Who needs to do what to make the playoffs? Who needs to do what to not embarrass themselves for the whole year? So we'll talk about that when we get back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
So it is Week 17 of the NFL football season, and that means we have some playoff implication games. Or maybe not. I mean, we already have a bunch of teams clinched, but, for the sake of, drama, we have some games that matter here. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go down the list. This is what the playoff picture is right now for the NFL, and this might give you some games to look out for today. Some important games that could happen today and things to look out for today. So clinched already. You have the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson. They're the North Division champs. They have home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs, so they're already the number one seed. Houston Texans are the Texans are the AFC South Division champs. The Chiefs are the West Division. Patriots are the East Division. Buffalo Bills have a playoff berth already. They have a wild card spot, so that leaves one more spot to gain there. So Kansas City will clinch a first round bye with a win and a New England loss. So Kansas City is playing the Chargers, a 5-10 Chargers team. So that's a it's a plausible thing that could happen. I mean, Chargers don't have much to play for. Phillip Rivers has been playing terrible this entire year. So Kansas City could win that game. I think they will win that game. So then you have New England Patriots. They're playing Miami, which they could win that game as well. So I'm imagining New England will win and get that first round bye, get the number 2 seed in the AFC. New England clinches with a New England win or tie, or a Kansas City loss or tie. So New England technically has more wiggle room than Kansas City, but either way, both teams need to win, and they need the other team to lose. I think the Patriots and the Chiefs are both going to win, so I think the Patriots are going to take that, and the Chiefs will just be 3 seed maybe? Yeah. You have the Oakland Raiders, which Oakland is the most interesting team to look out for today. You have the Oakland Raiders playing Denver today. Oakland is 7-8, Denver 6-9. They're playing at 4:25 p.m. on CBS. So Oakland clinches a playoff berth only if Oakland wins, Pittsburgh loses, Tennessee loses, Indiana wins, and then Oakland clinches the strength of victory tiebreaker over Pittsburgh. So here's what needs to happen. So Oakland needs to beat Denver, which I think they can. Pittsburgh needs to lose to Baltimore, which I think they can. Tennessee needs to lose to Houston, which I think they can. And the Colts are playing the Jaguars, which they could probably win. So the stars are aligning for Oakland, in my opinion. Every one of these scenarios are possible. Indiana's playing Jacksonville, which is not an important game at all, so they could feasibly lose that game. But Oakland can beat Denver. Pittsburgh can definitely lose to Baltimore, although Baltimore is not playing Lamar Jackson or Mark Ingram, so that's kind of a debatable topic. But I mean, Pittsburgh has looked bad, but I mean, Pittsburgh still has something to play for. So, but I feel like Baltimore would rather Pittsburgh not be in the playoffs. Tennessee, they got to lose to Houston, which Tennessee is also playing for a playoff berth. So they have more to play for than Houston does, who has already clinched a playoff spot. But I think Deshaun Watson is still playing, so that game could go either way, honestly. And then Indiana versus Jacksonville, which is a game that's happening because both teams are out of the playoffs. So, I mean, it's happening, I guess. So, move on. Pittsburgh will clinch a playoff berth if Pittsburgh wins and Tennessee loses or ties. Or Pittsburgh ties and Tennessee loses. Or Tennessee loses and Indiana wins and Oakland loses or ties. Or Tennessee loses, Indiana wins, and Pitt ties Oakland in strength of victory tiebreaker. So Pittsburgh kind of controls their own destiny, in my opinion. I think if they win, they have a good chance in making it. Obviously, if they win, Oakland's out. But then you have the Tennessee Titans, who definitely controls their own destiny, because if Tennessee wins, they're in. Tennessee's playing Houston, 4:25. That's going to be an important game to watch. All of these games are 4:25 because obviously they don't want these teams knowing who won. They want each game to be competitive because, I mean, each team, all three teams are battling for a playoff spot. So it's going to be an interesting games at 4:25. Tennessee versus Houston's probably more important one, because if Tennessee wins, then they will be in the playoffs. They will get that last wild card spot. So you should watch that one. So moving on to the NFC, you have the New Orleans Saints won the South. The Packers have a playoff berth. The Vikings have a playoff berth, but neither one have won the division yet. 49ers have a playoff berth, and the Seahawks have a playoff berth. Neither one have won the division yet. So move on to the best division in football, the NFC East. You have the 7-8 Dallas Cowboys facing the Washington Redskins, who are 3-12. They're playing at 4:25. Dallas clinches the NFC East with a Dallas win or a Philadelphia loss, which Philadelphia is playing the Giants. So, I mean, Philadelphia doesn't have much to play for. I mean, they can clinch the division still, so I guess they do. that division's a mess. Packers play Detroit. Green Bay clinches a first-round bye with a win or a New Orleans loss. So the Packers playing the Lions, who are 3-11-1. They're definitely going to give it their all. They're probably going to win that game, so they're probably going to clinch that first-round bye. They clinch home field advantage throughout the playoffs with a win and a San Francisco loss, or a Green Bay tie and a San Francisco loss and a New Orleans loss. That's probably the least likely scenario. So Green Bay can clinch first round bye and home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They could be the number 1 seed if they win and San Francisco loses. Which is kind of crazy because, nobody's really talked about the Packers throughout this whole year, I feel like. So, they've kind of snuck in there, in my opinion. Then you have the Saints versus the Panthers at 1 o'clock. New Orleans clinches a first-round bye with a win and a Green Bay loss. There's 5 other scenarios that I'm not going to list all of them out because they basically all say the same thing. New Orleans needs to win, basically. And they probably will. They're playing at Carolina, so there's a little struggle there. They clinch home field with a win, a Green Bay loss or tie, and a San Francisco loss. So they have the least likely path to home field advantage because I really don't think Green Bay is going to lose to the Lions. So, but New Orleans can at least clinch a first round bye, maybe not really though. So New Orleans will probably play the wild card team. So the Philadelphia Eagles, who do have something to play for, as I said incorrectly earlier, they play the New York Giants. They clinch the division with a win or a Dallas loss. So Philadelphia controls their own destiny in that division. All they got to do is beat the Giants, which I feel like is not that difficult. But Philadelphia has made things much more difficult than they should be. So there's a slight chance that Jason Garrett somehow saves his job and stays with the Cowboys for one more year. We move on to the best game of the night, Sunday Night Football here, 49ers versus Seattle. So San Francisco clinches the division with a win. They clinch a first-round bye with a win, and they clinch home field advantage with a win. So this is kind of this is the ultimate game for the 49ers. They got to beat a really good Seahawks team to pave their way for the playoff. Get the first-round bye, get home field advantage throughout the whole playoffs. Then Seahawks, they clinch the West Division with a win. They clinch a first-round bye with a win and a Green Bay loss, which, as I already said earlier, Green Bay's probably not going to lose. So, just saying, now that I keep saying it over and over, Green Bay's going to lose, but it's fine. So, Seattle clinches home field advantage throughout the playoffs with a win, a Green Bay loss, and a New Orleans loss, which that is the least likely scenario because I don't think New Orleans is going to lose to the Panthers. So, the NFC is definitely a much more interesting games. I would definitely require you to watch, I suppose. Sunday Night Football, 49ers Seattle, that's just going to be a good game. A lot on the line. Both teams are going to be playing out full force, and it's just going to be a good game. So that's a good one to watch. The Eagles versus the Giants, I guess you can watch, or Dallas versus the Redskins. Those are both probably going to be really bad games, but someone has to win them. So there you go. Then, of course, Tennessee versus Houston at 4:25. Definitely recommend watching that one. Tennessee controls their own destiny, as I said earlier. So that's a big one. And then if it becomes a blowout or it's boring, then you can switch it over to Oakland, see if Oakland still have any chance at making the playoff. Or you can watch Pittsburgh somehow stumble into the playoffs because everybody else sucks. That's also possible. But in our next segment, we're going to talk about the return of Beast Mode, Marshawn Lynch, coming back to the Seattle Seahawks when we return.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Beast mode is back. Marshawn Lynch, for some reason, is back. He is back with the Seattle Seahawks, which is the team that loves him very much. I mean, he had great moments with them, won a Super Bowl with them. So he is back, and it's been told that he is running back one for the Seahawks going into the last week of the season versus the 49ers, which is a great advantage for them because the 49ers, I mean, there's a lot of tape on Marshawn Lynch throughout the years, but you don't know what shape he's in. You don't know if he's still ready to go. So it's kind of it's a nice little mystery box going into the game, the important game tonight for the against the 49ers. So Marshawn Lynch, he'll be getting a paycheck of $60,588 from the Seahawks this week, which is bonkers for 1 week of work. So this is a 1 year deal basically, but it's prorated for the league minimum. Since Marshawn Lynch has been in the NFL for more than 10 years, the minimum is $1 million, $1.3 million, I think, $1.03 million. So that's for the entire season, which breaks down to about $60,588 per week over 17 weeks. So that's what he's getting paid for this game. He's going to make more money than that, obviously, because they've already clinched a playoff spot. So the Seahawks, he could end up pocketing $242,000. No big deal. That's if they end up winning the Super Bowl. So he'll get an extra $2,500 if they end up winning the Super Bowl. That could only happen if Seahawks win and be the number 3 seed, because you would collect $31,000 for the Seahawks game in the wild card round, $31,000 for the divisional round, and then $56,000 for playing in the NFC title game. He would also get a separate check for $124,000 if the Seahawks were to win the Super Bowl. So if you add that to the $60,588 for Week 17, that means Marshawn Lynch can make a total of $302,588 for about 1 month's work, which not too shabby. I mean, if I could do that, that'd be great. I think I'd be a lot happier if I could do that in a month, but it's fine. But if the Seahawks lose to the 49ers, but still ended up winning the Super Bowl, he would collect a whole $60,000 less. He would only collect $239,000 because wild card team only get $28,000. Division winners playing in the wild card round get $31,000. So if they lose to the 49ers, they'll be a wild card team instead of a division winner. If they beat the 49ers, they'll be a division winner instead of a wild card team. Kind of self-explanatory. I don't know why I just explained it to you, but it's fine. So Seahawks. So if they won, they earn a first round bye, which, as we discussed in the last segment, kind of unlikely. But Lynch can make $211,000 just for the playoffs. So if they get the bye, he would be paid less actually because he wouldn't get paid for the wild card round. So it's interesting that he's back. I mean, he's getting his money's work. I think Seattle's getting their money's work. So let's look at his stats from last year for Oakland, which he retired for a second time after last year. So he had 376 rushing yards on 90 attempts. which is a lot less. I mean, he only played 6 games, which, I mean, he only played 6 games, got 376, got 3 touchdowns. So he had 20 first down rushing. His longest run was 52 yards. I mean, it's not too bad for a running back. 32. I mean, it could have been better, but we're not going to delve into that. But his time with the Seahawks was easily his best time. 6 years with the Seahawks, he played 82 games. He started 77 of them. He rushed for he had almost 1,500 rushing attempts. He had over 6,000 rushing yards, 57 touchdowns. Longest run was 79 yards. Average 4.4 yards. Yards per game was about 77.4, which isn't pretty crazy. Attempts per game was 17.8. So the fact that they're getting Marshawn Lynch for the biggest game of the year up until the playoffs. I mean, you're playing the 49ers. It's for the division. It's potentially a first round bye. Potentially, I mean, you'll probably play in the wild card round if you win, but it's huge that they have him because he was a great player when he was with the Seahawks. He was a great player for Oakland the 1 year he was healthy for the whole thing. So it's definitely interesting that he came out of retirement, especially this late in the year. I guess, I mean, if you're getting paid $300,000 to play a maximum of, what is it? A max of 5 games, right? So, I mean, you get paid $300,000 to play 5 games and maybe win a Super Bowl. I mean, you would win a Super Bowl if you got paid $300,000. So, I mean, for a month's work, a Super Bowl ring, $300,000. I feel like a lot of people would take that. So, it's interesting. It's kind of ballsy by the Seahawks. Not as ballsy as what the Saints might do, as the Saints have looked into Antonio Brown. They worked him out. That does not mean he is on the team, obviously, but he worked out for the Saints. So there's a possibility that the Saints can get him for the playoffs, which that means Drew Brees has Michael Thomas and Antonio Brown, which would be completely unfair. Antonio Brown would probably have to play for the league minimum, but is the pros of Antonio Brown worth the cons of Antonio Brown, as he's kind of crazy? I mean, his time in Oakland, I feel like he could have really thrived in Oakland's offense and probably make them a lot better than they are now. I mean, he can make anybody that much better. The one game he played for the Patriots, he played pretty well. He's one of the best receivers in the league. It's just he has some issues that he needs to get over, whether it be frozen feet, or whether it be money issues, or walking up to Mike Mayock and calling him a cracker. You can't really say that. So the Saints really rolling the dice there, and I kind of like it, honestly, because, I mean, Sean Payton doesn't care. Sean Payton's going to try to win another Super Bowl before he retires. Drew Brees wants to win another Super Bowl. Drew Brees would, of course, love to throw to Antonio Brown. So it's an interesting move, but I kind of like it because if you're going to try to win a Super Bowl, this is the way to do it. I mean, you got to deal with people that you don't necessarily want to deal with. But you can't deny the talent is there for Antonio Brown. It's always been there, obviously, but it's kind of a hard sell, especially to fans. I mean, they'll get over it after the Lombardi's been raised. However, it's not a smart PR move. I know most teams care about the PR very much. I know most fans care about their team's PR very much. So it's not the best PR move. However, it's a great football move to have Antonio Brown on the team. But we'll see. I mean, he took a picture, he took a video inside their locker room. his agent said they'll keep in contact with the Saints. So it's a very real possibility that the Saints could sign Antonio Brown just in time to make the playoff, to get in the playoffs, and then just throw out, imagine that. After you're in the second round of the playoffs, after playing in the wild card game, and you got to play Antonio Brown, who hasn't played at all this whole year, fully rested, and you don't know how the Saints are going to use him because Sean Payton's a mastermind. Have fun with that. In our next segment, we're going to talk about another interesting personality, but in a different league. We're going to be talking about the NBA. We're going to be talking about Kawhi Leonard's uncle and what he asked for from the Los Angeles Lakers. So stay tuned.
Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? The GSMC College Football Podcast is your ticket to all things college football. Join us as we talk college football from the national championship, the college rivalries, the bowl game, to the Heisman Trophy. To which conference is the best? We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, the Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between. Download the GSMC College Football Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Kawhi Leonard continues to be one of the most interesting NBA players, in my opinion. He's super quiet, so you don't know anything about him. He has interesting motives, as you can tell throughout his time with the San Antonio Spurs. His year with the Raptors proved that he's one of the best players in the league. And he did it all with kind of a straight face, no emotions. He's a fun guy, obviously. That's his new tagline. So, his offseason was interesting because he was a free agent, and you had rumors coming from everywhere that he was going to go to, the Knicks, which, who on earth would want to go to the Knicks? He had rumors that he was going to the Lakers, he was going to Los Angeles. So, the Lakers thing was a huge news. Everybody was just like, he's going to team up with LeBron James, and according to some reports, that was very much a reality that he was going to team up with LeBron James in Los Angeles for the Lakers, but instead he decided to go with the Clippers, and there is some speculation that the Clippers might have given him some benefits that were not part of the league's collective bargaining agreement, and that's because news came out that good old Uncle Dennis, Kawhi Leonard's Uncle Dennis, we all have that uncle, Uncle Dennis reportedly asked the Lakers for part ownership of the Los Angeles Lakers. I would repeat that, the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the biggest franchises in the country. He wanted a private plane that would be available at all times, a house that probably would have been in Los Angeles, and he would, of course, ask for a guaranteed amount of off-court endorsement money that they could expect if Leonard played for their team. So they asked for all of these things from the Lakers, and of course, obviously, the Lakers turned that down because there are rules, according to the league's collective bargaining agreement. There are rules. So now the Clippers are under investigation because the Clippers actually did get Kawhi Leonard. And who knows if this list was the main reason that Kawhi did not go to the Lakers. However, it is very interesting that these things are very interesting because you're already going to get paid. I mean, he signed a 3-year deal for $103 million with the Clippers. I mean, with that, you can get a private plane. You can get a private plane with that. You can get a house with that. And I mean, you don't need help getting endorsement money because you're one of the biggest players in the league. I mean, you don't really have a personality, but I mean, it's not hard to get endorsement when you're one of the best players in one of the biggest leagues in the country. So none of these things really make sense. Now, of course, this is all speculation. There's no, I mean, the Lakers have kind of, said that this is a thing that happened. The NBA is investigating, like I said, the Clippers. They're investigating the whole situation as we speak right now. So Adam Silver said we tell our teams that we are looking into and continuing into activities from the summer. And they're trying to draw a line at this board meeting and focus everyone on free agency rules going forward. And Silver continues with, I think I'll just leave it at that. We were looking at the behavior from the summer we have, and we continue to look at it. But first and foremost, we want to change the way business is done going forward. So this whole fiasco could potentially change the entirety of free agency. It could change the collective bargaining agreement and stuff like that. So, it's interesting. There's a question raised about why Magic Johnson was given a small piece of the Lakers ownership. Those are kind of different situations because Magic Johnson doesn't play basketball anymore. But what could have been was you could have had LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard on the Lakers, which then that just wouldn't be fair at all. They would not have gotten Anthony Davis, of course, if they got Kawhi Leonard, because Anthony Davis came after Kawhi Leonard. Already made his decision. But it's technically tampering, not really, but it's a very interesting situation, which will definitely affect how things are done going forward because, I mean, technically Kawhi didn't ask for these things. His good old Uncle Dennis did. So you can't really punish Kawhi Leonard, but you can't really punish his uncle either. And it really just all depends on whether or not the Clippers gave him any impermissional benefits or anything like that. It's just very muddy. It's a muddy situation. And this whole league-wide discussion about all of these new rules that could potentially come into play is all because of good old Uncle Dennis. So, as you probably know, Kawhi Leonard for the Clippers, I mean, they've been playing pretty good so far. They're one of the best teams in the league, obviously. They beat the Lakers on Christmas Day, and I mean, that's kind of working out for them so far. So hopefully they didn't give in to these insane demands. Like, I mean, these demands, once again, are insane. He wanted a private plane, a house, and off-court endorsement money. Oh, and also part ownership of the team, which that's just insane. You can't ask for part ownership of a team to be put on the team. I mean, that there's conflict of interest there. It could technically be tampering if you give a player part ownership of a team. So I don't really know what Uncle Dennis was doing. I don't know what Kawhi Leonard really like. I don't know if he has any knowledge of the situation. He said he didn't on a news article that I saw earlier. He claims that he has no knowledge of the situation of the wish list that his good old Uncle Dennis came up with. But these requests, it just adds fuel to the fire of one of the most interesting players in the league. He might not be interesting from a charismatic standpoint. He may not be interesting from a personality standpoint, but he's interesting in a, what is up with this guy? What is wrong with him? And who is Uncle Dennis? And why does Uncle Dennis keep doing these things? Because Uncle Dennis always comes up in the news, especially when Kawhi Leonard's involved. Uncle Dennis was involved with the Spurs situation where Kawhi Leonard refused to play for the Spurs even though he was deemed healthy. He got a second opinion from a different doctor, and the doctor said otherwise. So Uncle Dennis was involved in that situation. I don't think Uncle Dennis was involved at all in the Toronto Raptors. I'm sure he was there when they won the title, of course. But, you know, it's interesting, and it adds a little bit more fuel to the fire of the battle for LA, as some people have called it. You know, the LeBron James versus Kawhi Leonard, the Lakers versus the Clippers. It's a great matchup in general between two of the best players in the league, and this adds a little bit more fuel to that rivalry. Some people I've seen on Twitter, some people call it's not a rivalry because Los Angeles is a Laker town or whatever, but that can change if the Clippers win a championship. So you kind of have to take them seriously, Lakers fans. So in our next segment, we're going to be talking about, we're going to have a fun segment. We're going to talk about bowl gifts. So college football teams, when they go to a bowl game, they get free things. They get like an allotted amount of money that they're allowed to get gifts from. And we're going to be talking about who got the best bowl gifts, who got the objectively worst bowl gifts, who got the most interesting bowl gifts. So that will all be in our next and final segment. So I'll see y'all there.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC, Invicta FC, Bellator, and one championship. We got the fights covered. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts. Past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are in the last segment, and we're going to talk about a little something fun. So college football bowl season is in full swing. So we're going to talk about the bowl gifts that the players get. So if you make a bowl game, you get a nice little gift package from the bowl itself, and it's filled with random memorabilia that the players probably will never use ever again. But we'll go through. I have the list of all the bowls that gave info about their gifts. So we'll just go down the list. We'll make fun of stupid ones, and we'll praise good ones. Here we go. So the Makers wanted Bahamas Bowl, which is the best bowl game you could possibly go to because you spend a week in Bahamas. The gift suite was board shorts, Yeti Rambler bottle, a towel, a pin, something you stick on your backpack or whatever, and a string backpack. Not even a regular backpack, just, one of those drawstring bags that you get for $1. Tropical Smoothie Cafe Frisco Bowl. You get a Justin Cowboy hat, which is great. You get a football. You get a college football 150th anniversary coin, which is cool, I suppose, but I guess I don't think football players care about that. You get a lapel pin, a Blingware cup, and a beanie. Move on to the New Mexico Bowl. You get Oakley Holbrook sunglasses. You get an Oakley Gearbox backpack, a beanie, and a water bottle. Which, that's pretty generic right there. The Cure Bowl in Orlando. You get a watch, Bluetooth backpack, warm-up jacket and pants, Sport Tech long sleeve t-shirts, mid-fit structured hat, and a Pebble Beach slides. That's not too bad. I don't think that's bad at all. The Camellia Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama, which is one of the worst bowl sites in my opinion, but you get a Fossil watch, good brand of watches, ESPN branded Samsonite rolling bag and beanie, whatever that means, and then a football. I don't understand giving football players a football as a gift, but we'll roll on. Mitsubishi Motors Las Vegas Bowl, You got socks, beanie, portable charger. Hopefully it's a good charger. Sometimes the portable chargers aren't very good. The Hawaii Bowl, which is one of the second best bowl, besides the fact that you have to play in Hawaii on Christmas Eve, which is I know it's terrible. You get an Aloha shirt, Oakley backpack and sunglasses, a performance t-shirt, whatever that means, beach towel, and surf trunks, which, on brand. The Walk-Ons Independence Bowl in Shreveport, Louisiana. You get a Timely Watch Co. watch, a beanie, and a book. And I don't know what it is with this book. It's the History of the Bowl Celebrating the Good of the Game book. I don't know what it is with this book. I saw it on this list, all up and down the list. A bunch of bowls were giving away this book, and I don't fully understand why. I don't think football players really want a book. But, I guess it's cool. I suppose. I doubt they care for it that much, though. The Quick Lane Bowl in Detroit. So, Best Buy gift card. You get JBL over-the-ear wireless headphones, which is pretty nice. Sticker Genius life-size photo slap decal for each participant of his likeness. So, I think that's like a fat head of their own face or something. I didn't really do that much research on that part, but that sounds interesting, I suppose. Get a hoodie, t-shirt, a palm hat, backpack and tag, a football, and a mini helmet. So they definitely went for quantity over quality there. The JBL headphones were pretty nice in my opinion, but yeah. The New Era Pinstripe Bowl, you get a JBL gift card and a variety of New Era products. Didn't specifically say which products, but you get a variety though. The Academy Sports and Outdoors Texas Bowl, you get a Corset Academy Sports gift card, a Justin Cowboy hat, because, Texas. You get a belt buckle, because, Texas. You get a bandana, because Texas, I guess. Adidas duffel bag, which might be concerning if they aren't Adidas. A shoe bag and a toiletry bag, which, those are acceptable. The San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl, which is one of my favorite names, obviously. The Fossil Watch and a wireless speaker, which, that's alright. The Cheez-It Bowl, which is the greatest bowl in the sports history. GoPro Hero 7 with accessories and carrying case, which that is a heck of a gift. I would take that every day of the week. Fossil Watch, you get Oakley sunglasses, a shuttle pack backpack, the History of the Bowls book for some reason, but it's fine here because they get a bunch of other cool stuff. Ice shaker insulated bottle, branded Bills cap and travel case, which is that like the Buffalo Bills? What does that mean? Anyways, the Camping World Bowl, they went very plain with it, but I kind of like it. It's just a $400 Best Buy gift card and a watch and a backpack. So they basically were just like, look, we don't know what to get y'all. Just get whatever. Get whatever you want. That's pretty much what that is. Move on to the playoff games. The PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. Guess what? PlayStations. No. You get a Fossil Watch, a backpack, History of the Bowl, Celebrating the Good of the Game book, an ice shaker, insulated bottle, Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, which is the other semifinal game in Atlanta. You get a $390 Vanilla Visa gift card and a Fossil Watch and a football. Once again, just, get whatever you want, man. We don't know what to get you. Serve Pro First Responder Bowl. You get, this is in Dallas, you get a Parkland duffel bag, a football, 9-line apparel, patriotic athletic wear, whatever that is. Franklin American Mortgage Music City Bowl, you get a Fossil Watch. That's all it has on here. The Redbox Bowl, you get a Nintendo Switch Lite, which, hey, that's pretty good. Big fan of that. You get a Nixon watch, Turtle Beach Gaming headphones, Herschel Supply Co. backpack, and Good glasses. It's good and then an R and then sunglasses. So, Redbox Bowl went all out with the Nintendo Switch, to be honest. So, Capital One Orange Bowl, you get a Tornado watch, a full-size split helmet, which I'm assuming that means it's split, so one half is Florida, one half is Virginia, which that's kind of a cool gift. It's full-size, too, so that's a cool gift. The Belk Bowl, which is, unfortunately, is the last year of the Belk Bowl, but that's in Charlotte. So, shopping trip to Belk Department Store. It's underrated. A lot of good things at Belk. Somehow a real bowl game, but it is Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl in El Paso, Texas. You get a Timely Watch Co. Silvertone watch, Majestic Pro Base fleece pullover, OGO Excelsior backpack, New Era cap, and a coin, because every football player wants a coin. The AutoZone Liberty Bowl in Memphis, Bass Pro Shop shopping trip, which some of those players will probably like. Bose SoundLink color Bluetooth speaker, pretty good. Caravel by Belova watch, Nike athletic shoes, sports sandals, backpack, sunglasses, and a football. I mean, that's pretty good. They went for quantity. That's a lot of good stuff, I feel like. I feel like there's a lot of useful things. I usually judge these by like how much the players will actually use the thing they get, which so far a lot of these are not a lot. So Nova Home Loans Arizona Bowl in Tucson, Herschel Supply Co. Chapter Travel Kit, whatever that is, New Era insulated beanie, because you need a beanie in Arizona, the Valero Alamo Bowl in San Antonio. You get AirPods Pro, which that's a pretty good gift, $115 Amazon gift card, which is a random amount, Michael Kors watch, helmet, team panoramic photo, because you know players love photos, the VRBO Citrus Bowl in Orlando, $400 Best Buy gift card. Once again, we don't know what to get you, so just get whatever you want, which I feel like that's not the worst gift, because, you know, it's useful. They can just go to Best Buy and just get whatever they want. Herschel backpack with a luggage tag or whatever. Outback Bowl, you got a Fossil watch, $125 Amazon gift card. Jostens ring, so you get a nice ring just for participating, I suppose. Outback Steakhouse gift card, because of course, depends on if you're getting the Bloomin' Onion or not. So, I mean, that's a decent haul, I suppose. Rose Bowl, you get a Fossil watch, OGO backpack, snapback adjustable hat. That's kind of lame for the Rose Bowl, to be honest, but I guess being in the Rose Bowl is good enough for you. Allstate Sugar Bowl, get an Armani Exchange watch. History of the Bowl, celebrating the good of the game book. New Era hat, Rock'em socks. Okay. Performance hooded t-shirt, which I'm a big fan of those, so can't complain there. Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl, you get a coin. History of the Bowls book, bucket hat. Tax Layer Gator Bowl, noise canceling headphones, speaker, sunglasses, Fossil watch, backpack. History of the Bowls. Idaho Potato Bowl, you get a computer backpack, hip pack, a fanny pack, which, you know, players love the fanny pack. Armed Forces Bowl, you get a 150th anniversary coin, beanie, neck pillow, football, athletic wear. Lending Tree Bowl, which I didn't know was a thing, is in Mobile, Alabama. It replaced the Dollar General Bowl or whatever. Personalized noise canceling headphones and charging bank, Fossil watch, backpack. And that's all the ones that have disclosed what the gifts are. So my favorite is the Cheez-It Bowl, because I think the GoPro is a really good value, and I also like all the ones that only gave you a $400 gift card. So that's it. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to remind you to please subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, whatever you're listening to this to. Write a nice review, because that really helps us out. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you for listening, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter, of course, at Strickland_Josh. And thank you for listening.
To
Have
the
a great
Golden
night.
State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.